we're going to do a video, not on this book, but we're going to use this book. This book's like 20, 30 years old. But we're going to try to cut your energy consumption by 50%. And I know a lot of this is going to be obvious, and I don't expect you to read this, but I'm just going to use this since I don't really take notes. Anyways, so we're assuming you live in a house or you rent a house, and you're going to have a gas bill, electric bill, water bill. And when we say utilities, we're going to talk also about water. As far as water, I don't think that's even in this book. The way to save on water is pretty simple. You take shorter showers, okay? Sometimes you put all the extra stuff in your hair. You don't need to do that third rinse. And also, water, they do have water saver shower heads, which aren't that expensive. You just unscrew it and put one in. So you still get good pressure because the water orifices are smaller, so you're still getting the power but less volume. So that's a no-brainer. But you could buy one of those real cheap, and I would say for sure. Taking baths, are you going to use a lot of water when you do that? So I don't know if you do it every night, but what you could do is, instead of fill the tub to the top, you can fill it halfway and then use a towel, a second towel on top of you, and you can just keep putting that in the water and cover yourself with it so you're not cold. And yes, you'll save water that way. But anyways, let's get into this. Water, also back to the water thing. Watering your flowers in your front yard, I don't know about that. Watering your grass because you want it nice and green. I don't know about that. I mean, why? Okay, I mean, unless you think you have to have perfect grass and flowers. I mean, plant things that just need normal weather. Okay, as far as if there's droughts, well, everyone else is having a drought too. So if your grass turns brown, it turns brown. So I would say, be skimpy on the water. But by the way, water is the biggest threat to this world today. The World War III is basically about the water, and they're doing all kind of stuff with water, from not letting certain people collect rainwater from gutters, like in several states of U.S. and a lot of places in Europe, to where they're modifying areas that they want more rain, and other places are losing rain, and that's all geoengineering. And so water is not going to get cheaper. And another thing with water is that when you water your grass, a lot of cities, you're also paying for sewer. So the water bill, let's say, is $1. Well, the sewer bill is $2. Okay, and so they measure your sewer, a lot of cities, by how much water you use. So you better call your city and find out if you get a separate meter if you're going to use water outside or gardening or irrigation. And also the water temperature. A lot of people crank it up. Think about it. When you go in a hot tub, anything over 105 is too hot, right? So why do you need your, people, you got to have the water real hot to kill bacteria. Well, that's fine. But it's an energy penalty to have your water at 130 degrees. Plus, you get burned at over 120, so 125. So there's no reason for your water heater to be that hot. If you have electric water heater, you'll have two controls to lower it. If you have a gas water heater, there's one control on the bottom. Lower it low and see if you could deal with it. And that alone, especially if you're in your house all the time, it will save you money, because that water heater keeps burning electricity and keeps, burning gas or propane. So lower the water temperature if you can. Now your dishwasher will probably heat the water. It's got heating elements in there, and it's still going to wash dishes. And another thing what people do is they do these super long dishwasher loads, man, and you do them super long, like the washing machines, top loaders or side loaders. The top loaders tend to use a lot more water, and they have shorter cycles. Man, I would say use the short cycle on the washing machines if you can. And then things that need a longer cycle, maybe just put them off to the side and wait till you got a bunch of them, you know. So if you have, one pair of work pants that gets dirty and you want to wash it separately, I would say go out and buy two more pair. And you don't have to buy new ones. Go to a secondhand store. You're working in them. Who cares if somebody wore them before, as long as they fit, right? And so you could, if you're going to do longer dry washing loads, do it that way. And then also drying is very expensive too. So you want to be smart about drying. I mean, if you're going to wash your beddings, you're going to do it in the summer. What the heck, man? Why don't you just hang them outside? It's going to be drying. I mean, the Amish can dry clothes in the winter. It's all about the humidity outside that dries clothes, as long as it's not below freezing and it ices up. So I'm not going to tell you to start drying clothes. The problem in the old days was people used to dry the clothes in their basements, and if they had a lot of clothes, then that would add to some of the moisture load to the home. So shorter drying loads, shorter washing loads, and then also lower the water temperature. And another thing you could do is not use water when you don't need it. A lot of time, like seriously, you got to wash your car every week. Really? Do you really got to wash your car? I mean, do you need to have that car perfectly clean? Who cares? Nobody cares about your car. I mean, your car's going to get washed when it rains. A lot of people are out there washing their car on a nice day and wasting a ton of water. So I don't know about that. Washing certain things might not need to be washed. So tons of money can be saved by decreasing your water usage by 50%. And everybody can decrease their water usage by 50% with no trouble at all. Okay, so I didn't mean to get too bogged down in the water. So here they're talking about windows. And, a couple things about windows. Obviously, new windows have better R values. And the window people are going to totally try to sell you windows. You're going to go to Anderson and he's going to make you spend $40,000. How are you going to say, how many years do you think it's going to take you to save $40,000 in fuel? I mean, you're going to be dead by the time you get your money back in savings from those windows. That's just my opinion, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with nice Anderson windows. Anderson, by the way, is the best product, and there's other good products out there, too. Some of them have, issues with broken window seals, and even homes where the broken window seal is bad. You know what? If you can still see out of it, and it's not perfect, who cares? Okay, you're not going to lose too much R value with a failed seal, and don't let a window guy tell you that. So spending $40,000, $20,000, I would say no. You're not going to save money doing that. But what you are going to save, and by the way, those old wood windows with the old aluminum storms, those, if you just caulk those storms on the outside and you caulk those windows and glaze them, they're probably more efficient than the brand new windows you're buying. Okay. Only problem with those windows is you got the lead paint issue because they're pre-1978. And I got tons of videos on that. That's a whole nother thing. But let's get back to the window. So what I would be doing is I want to just save money. I don't want to spend money. A lot of people, they want to save money, so they think they got to spend money to save money. No, I don't think so. We ain't doing that. So I would do is go to every window in your house. Let's say you got an old house, and look at every window and open and shut it, and see how it closes, and make sure that the muttons where the upper and lower window meet, if it's depending on what kind of window you have, of course, just make sure that they're lined up right and there's no gaps. A lot of times the windows don't properly close. That is like huge waste of money. And if you can't fix that window, get a piece of cloth and shove it in that gap, or take some insulation and shove it in, or matter of fact, just caulk the windows shut. If you're not going to, you only need one window to get out in case there's a fire. You only need one window to open up. And if there's a window that you just can't afford, you can't spend $500 fixing, caulk it, man. Just caulk it up. Caulk up the hole, and you'll see it. Okay, now a lot of people make the mistake with windows where they sit by the window and all of a sudden they feel cold. Like, oh man, these windows are losing so much heat. And then you call a window company, and they don't know nothing about saving energy. They might come over with some fancy blower door and some thermal imaging and show you these really cool pictures how cold your window is and just make you get all crazy. And then you're going to be pulling out your credit card. Don't do that. The reason the window is cold, if you put your desk next to it, is because the boundary layer, what happens is cold air is heavier and drops to the floor. Obviously, your wall is 4, 6, 8 inches thick, insulated or not. It has an R value, let's say R10. And that we're not going to get into any science here. This is supposed to be a simple video for simple people, for quick fix, easy. I want to save 50% on my money. That's all. I don't care about spending money. So as long as we got that mentality, the window doesn't have all that. The window R value is lower, so it's cold on the glass. So that little area behind the glass in your house, that air drops to the floor. And sure, you think it's a draft. Oh, my windows are so drafty. Man, they're not drafty. The air is cold at the window and it's dropping your feet. And if your couch is there, guess what? It's going to be cold. And then a window guy's going to say they're drafty. They're not. Okay? It's just building science. Okay? Cold air is heavy. It drops. So here's what you do with the window. After you caulk it, you know what? Cover it. Close in the wintertime. During the day when the sun's out, open your window blinds or open your window curtains and then close them at night. I mean, they act as insulation, and so that'll help you out a lot. The only thing is I'm not real big on cloth window dressings and coverings because, cloth contributes to indoor air pollution. So you'll have to weigh that out, okay? And that's a whole nother issue. But that's all I do with the windows. And on the outside, go to your windows and caulk around them. If the glazing's bad, reglaze them, okay? If they're new windows and they're broken seals, don't worry about that. That's just an aesthetic thing. Look at the way the window's sitting in and see if there's any gaps. A lot of times caulking, you're really not supposed to use caulk on homes. I mean, everything should not be caulked, but people use it. And caulking only lasts so many years. So that's all I got to say about windows, okay? They got a lot here about windows they talk about and glazing. Now they're talking about air sealing and insulation. So, as far as insulating, if you don't have insulation, you got an old house, then you need to think about that. That would be a substantial upgrade, okay, on your home. And so we're not going to get into that right now, but we are going to get into where's the heat loss in the winter. It's either thermal bridging. Here's the fancy words: thermal bridging, thermal bypass. Okay, so thermal bridging basically means you got a wall and you got poor insulation, and heat will transfer through that poor R value. It could be like a joist or timber, or thermal bypass is a hole. Now, that is your biggest energy. Some people go out and spend $20,000, $10,000 insulating their home, where they could have just spent $200 repairing thermal bypass, and they would have got way more savings with less money. So let's worry about thermal bypass. Okay, so the biggest bypass nobody knows about is your chimney structure. Goes through, a lot of people have it. Not if you don't have it, don't worry about this. But or your pipes, your main stack, they go through your house, through the attic. So whatever goes through your house all the way down to your basement or your crawl space, you want to go to that area. And there's usually a gap there. And there's supposed to be a fire stop and fire stopping and all kind of stuff with new codes. But let's just assume, it's an old house. So you want to look at that and like, wow, that little gap goes all the way to the attic. Yeah. And if you got any kind of duct leakage, pressurized crawl space or depressurized, we're causing problems, right? So you want to seal that. So you want to weather strip that or seal it. And if it's anything that's like, the flue or something, you want to make sure you use fire rated sealant or insulation. And so that would be a major thermal bypass. These are penetrations that go from and you go to your basement, just look up at your ceiling and you'll see the fireplace, the brick, like, wow, there's a 1/4 inch gap. that gap goes all the way up to the attic. So seal it down there, okay, and seal it in the attic. So that would be something you want to seal with insulation. It's called thermal bypass. The other one, the huge one, is your attic access or your pull down stair or the attic door that goes to the attic. You want to weather strip that. You do not want your house to communicate with the non-conditioned space is your attic area, whether that's in a closet or in a hallway. And you know what? Those whole house fans, major heat losers, major. So in the wintertime, you want to definitely cover that with plastic or build an isolation cap on it, um, or whatever. And so you want to fix the thermal bypass, and you want to weather strip any door that goes to an attic. Okay, and then and a lot of times you'll have heat ducts in an upstairs, but then the heat ducts are in a non-conditioned space, and you go in there not even insulated. So maybe you want to insulate that. Now the other thing you want to insulate, um, we're not gonna. I would insulate if you've got a crawl space or a basement. I might put some insulation on the hot pipes. What happens is you get in a shower and you just run that water for 10 minutes before it gets warm. Well, there you're wasting water there, right? So I would insulate the pipes that travel through non-conditioned spaces on the hot end for sure. The hot pipes, I would insulate those. As far as other insulation, you know what? I've got videos on that, and you can check it out. Okay, so that's all we're going to say about insulation. We're going to say fix the thermal bypass. You want to fix the holes. Okay, now, so insulation also, there's insulation for crawl spaces. So do you have a vented crawl space, or do you have a conditioned crawl space? Okay, so it depends where the insulation goes. So you need to really study that. In a conditioned crawl space, you want the insulation around the perimeter. Another thing you want to do is seal any holes, penetrations in your band joist, in your crawl space, or basement. So the ones you're worried about are your air conditioner, okay, because there's a hole there. Your main water line, a lot of times the water line comes from underground. Your sewer line comes from underground, but your main your gas line could also come through the hole. And then sometimes people have all kind of holes that go out to different things like, front lights and things like that. So you want to go outside, caulk all the holes, especially the ones that go to your basement, and any holes that go up to, that go in the walls. As far as the vents in your attic, most of the time the attics are non-conditioned and we're not worried about it. Now let's talk about thermostats. So yeah, I have a video I just did on thermostats. You could check it out. But yeah, programmable thermostats help. They do cost $100, so we're back to making an investment here. But you want to make sure your thermostat is in the right place. And a lot of people will put that thermostat where a door opens and that thing goes off and on, or they'll put the thermostat in a room that they don't go into. The door's closed and they can't figure out, what's going on with the house. And one of the biggest mistakes is people that have fireplaces and pellet stoves of the thermostat in the same room, and then they can't figure out. Then they figure out why the back far part of the house, all the walls are getting black. That's from Brownian motion and complete combustion and impaction of soot. And I've got videos on that, by the way. But the real issue is that you've got a secondary heating source where the thermostat's at, and you're kind of like you're heating one room and not the rest of the house, and then that goes off and on. And so you want to make sure that your thermostat is an area that's not near any drafts, any doors, not next to any vents. Maybe it could be a hallway, okay, that's off the side of the living room, but it could be in the living room too. But if you have like a fireplace or pellet stove that you're burning all the time, that that's a whole nother issue. And some people have those ventless heaters, and I'm totally not a ventless guy, because that's ventless is pure combustion, but it does create water vapor and carbon dioxide. So that's a whole other issue. Condensation, generating water in your home. Then you got to run a dehumidifier, and if you're running a dehumidifier all the time, you're using more energy. You should have a dehumidifier, but you don't want to run one unnecessarily if you don't have to. And this book says closed rooms you're not in. Nah, I'm not going with this one. Okay, I'm going to say if you got one furnace in your house, you want to make sure that everywhere is a heat register, that those rooms are all open. If you close closets, fine, but big closets that don't have heat registers, maybe you want to keep them open a little bit, because you want to distribute the air. You don't want to have cold and hot spots. because then if you have moisture generators, then you start to get dew point condensation, and we got a whole nother problem, and mold and all kind of stuff. So I would say bathroom doors, to me, a big one. Nobody does this because they think you keep the bathroom doors closed because it's a dirty place. I say no. And the reason is a bathroom does not have a cold air return. Okay. But a bathroom, most bathrooms have an exhaust fan. So think about this. The furnace is on or the air conditioner is on. And if you close that door, the bathroom is kind of like pressurized, blown up like a balloon. Where's it going to go? It's going to go into the hole. And what's the hole? The vent. And you think those vent dampers are 100% sealed? Absolutely not. And so you're going to be exfiltrating conditioned air in a closed bathroom through your exhaust vent. Now, that's going to happen anyways. But we don't want to speed the process up, because if we speed the process up, then we lose air, and it's not magical air. So what happens is your furnace in your house is, whoa, I just lost some air. I need more air, because you can't just blow air out, exfiltrate air. So you're going to now infiltrate non-conditioned air. So you're going to get rid of air you pay to heat, cool, condition, dehumidify, and you're going to suck in air that you got to heat, cool, condition, and humidify or dehumidify. It's a problem. So I would say you leave the bathroom doors open, okay? Because this way, even though we know the exhaust vents aren't 100% sealed, okay, they have dampers on it, open and close, but if you ever take one of those apart, you'll notice there's a gap all the way around the perimeter, and you don't need a large gap to exfiltrate conditioned air. So keep the doors open. And one of the doors that are always closed is the master bathroom, because the master bathroom doesn't have a cold air return either. And that's not in any book. You know, you buy these books and they try to teach you how to save money. And what they do is they tell you, oh, you need a new furnace. Okay, 10 grand. You need new air, you need new windows. Okay, 30 grand. Oh, you need solar panels, 40 grand. Oh, you need all new windows, 30 grand. Okay, you need a new refrigerator because the old one's not. They tell you all these things that you got to spend all this money on. And you know what? We're just trying to save money. We don't want to spend money. Okay, now, obviously, a refrigerator that's 40 years old is not going to be efficient. Okay, and the problem with since we're talking about refrigerators, you know, the problem with refrigerators is sometimes the seals go. All right, and that's a problem. Okay, so you want to make sure when you open that refrigerator, it better be hard to open, because that means the seal is getting sucked in. We're good to go. All right, and then don't have it on the coldest setting. Okay, and maybe you don't need an ice maker. I don't know. That's, you know, we're nitpicking nickel and diamond at this point. But as far as refrigerators and freezers, you don't need 3 freezers, because the end of the world isn't going to happen. You don't need 3 refrigerators. You know, maybe you want 2. Okay, because your lifestyle, that's fine. But the important thing with the refrigerators and freezers is the seal. And if that seal isn't right, and you got a little hole the size of that, my little finger, you're going to lose a ton of energy. So we're not going to try to get into saving energy with appliances. But that, since I brought that up, we'll do that. So, you know, here we go. He's talking about thermostats again. We talk about the drapes. He's talking how to save. You know, now they're getting into double doors, and sure, you want double doors, or you want an entrance door that's highly insulated. You know what? Yeah, you could buy all that stuff, okay? And you know, that's fine. You could go out and spend money and get all new doors and all new windows, but we're not doing it. We're trying to do simple things here that are huge, okay? I mean, if you cut your finger in your left hand and you cut off your finger in your right, are you going to go put a Band-Aid on the finger on your left? No, you're going to try to stop the bleeding on the right. So we are trying to stop the bleeding, okay? So here he's getting into more heating costs, and he's talking about the kitchen where you can save money. And you know what? You could still use your appliances. The only thing is, sometimes you don't want to be near them if you don't have to, because electric motors and rechargers do create electromagnetic fields. They also cause harmonics and dirty voltage in your walls. So, you know, that's a whole nother issue, okay? And so, you know, if you're worried about the health aspects of dirty electricity and harmonics caused by, let's say, dimmer switches or electric motors or improperly wired sub panels. You can't mix your neutrals and grounds in your sub panel because that's going to cause issues. So that's a whole nother issue. Okay, I mean, sure, it's high energy, but now we're getting into environmental stuff, and I actually have videos on that as well. Um, so okay, real quick, I do have a service, and it's you just Google call Marko with a question, Marko, and it'll prompt you to I think it's $29. You get 15 minutes, a half an hour, and you can send me photos. You can call me if you got a house problem that you can't have, nobody can solve for you. I've been doing this for close to 40 years, and I'm pretty good at this stuff. So I usually solve 95, 98% of all calls, all problems, or at least help you out with them. And you don't have to call me for just a house problem. It could be, if you think that this window is better than that window. I'm not going to get into products, and I don't endorse anything, but at least I'll tell you my opinion and what I think about it. Or maybe maybe you want to report because somebody missed something, or somebody disclosed something, or a contractor did a bad thing to you or your house. You send me, you might need an expert witness or an expert report. And yes, I do those as well. Obviously, those aren't $29. But anyways, I also have some products down below. Maybe I'll have this book, and if you want to buy this book or other books, I'll find something. I do make a little bit on Amazon affiliate, and then I also have some merch, and check it out. And of course, please rate, subscribe, and I'm not done yet. And so dishwashing time. So here we talked about dishes. You don't if you make eggs in the morning and you dirty a pan and a plate, that doesn't mean you got to put them in the dishwasher. Man, you could just rinse that off and put that pan right back away. You don't have to wash everything all the time, okay? And another thing is you want to have enough stuff to where, some people have like 4 cups and 4 glasses. So when they run out, they got to, have 15 of them. That way the dishwasher's completely full before you turn it on, okay? And you don't need to turn it on for the big long cycles, okay? You could wipe that plate off a little bit in the garbage can when you're done and do a quick rinse on it. If you have a garbage disposal, that's great. And so I think we talked a little bit about dishwashers. We talked about, here they're telling you, to turn off the faucet, when you're done. This is all stuff about, okay? Cold water. I mean, when to use cold water when you're, washing clothes. Solar, solar costs money. Now, just so you know, a lot of people are selling solar, and I mean, I'm not going to say solar is a bad thing, but you better find out where you live if you get enough sun, okay? Lately we've been having a lot of clouds and geoengineering and all kind of stuff, so, be smart about that. Now, when you do solar, you're thinking about 10 years before you start to see your money back. Just keep that in mind. If you do it yourself, then you're looking at maybe 4 or 5 years, okay? Maybe less. So think about doing it yourself if you're going to do the solar thing, okay? And we're not going to get into the solar thing, okay? But he's got a whole section about it. Then they're talking about your garden, and of course everybody knows about indoor gardening and greenhouses. But the thing is, if you're going to do all that, make sure that you have humidity control, okay? Be careful of how much water you're going to use. Is it going to be worth it? Then they talk about wood burning. If you got free wood, that's cool. You can supplement it, but the thing with the wood is that you need to somehow disperse that heat throughout the house. So keep that in mind, how to do that. Again, we got into that whole aspect of the thermostat, okay? And so basically, this book basically talks about appliances, insulation, windows, burning wood, okay? And then, of course, they have a chapter on your car, and then it talks about really dumb things like how you use your crock pot. And so, I'm disappointed. And that book cost $6.95. I probably bought that book 30 years ago just for the hell of it. But you can tell now that, a lot of these books that you're going to buy that tells you how to save energy, a lot of them's going to be really no-brainer stuff. Okay, it's not rocket science. If you turn on your thermostat, you're going to save money. If you don't wash every day dishes, you're going to save money. If you sleep with blankets, you're going to save money. Okay, if you got a broken window and you fix it, yep, you're going to save money. So these are obvious things they tell you, and they tell you what temperatures, and they try to make science out of it. And so I came up with a bunch of stuff today, and I didn't even hit them all. There's a lot more. I mean, you could talk about what color you want to paint your room, what's going to absorb more heat, what's going to hold. So you can get into all that. Carpets are great, right? So if you got a crawl space, you want to put a rug down, right? So these are things you could do. They're no brainers. That's basically like adding insulation, right? A carpet's got an R value, right? So it's like adding insulation, or you cover your windows with curtains. That's adding insulation, right? It's it has some kind of R value. So obviously we need to do all that, but I would say fix the holes in your house, fix the holes in your furnace ductwork, especially your cold air returns. Fix the holes in your ceilings and your basement perimeter. Fix the holes, okay, in your thermal bypass, in your chimney, in your ducts that go up through the basement, up through your house. Fix the holes. Number two is be smart. Okay, be smart about, do I really need to wash my car in my front yard so all my neighbors see me washing my car because I got a new car and I've got the shiniest red car on the block? Really? Or do you need to water the grass? Really? Do you? No, you don't. You don't need to do any of that. You don't need to wash down your garage floor all the time. You could wash it once a year. You could just sweep it up. So it's all about what you're doing. And then be careful on spending money, how to save energy. And that's the biggest mistake people make. They think they're going to save energy, and they're going to take a second mortgage out to get some beautiful Anderson windows, or they'll take out a second mortgage to get solar panels, or take out a second mortgage, to get a whole new heating system and a new water heater that's an Insta-Hot unit that costs $2,000. Oh, water heater. We talk about water heaters. Sometimes insulating the water heater, they sell insulation blankets. Not a bad idea. We'll throw that in for the last. So I can keep going. And we could micro manage this too and come up with more. But these are your big, like I said, if you got a cut in one hand and the other hand's got a cut off severed finger, you need to fix the severed finger, not the Band-Aid. Hey, again, you could, any house problems, just Google, call Marko with a question, Marko, call Marko with a question. Or, please rate, subscribe, and share. And then also I have some products below this video in the description. I try to find products that relate to my video. Check it out, and you can actually just go onto those sites if you want to buy something from Amazon. I think I get like 1%. So that helps me out. And I also have some merch, and I'm trying to figure out what other kind of merch I could put down there that people might want. So if you have any ideas, that's cool too. Just write up some comments. So hey, thanks for coming on, and you have a nice day.